Hey there, it's Melissa at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thank you so much for joining us on our YouTube channel. Please press subscribe. You can see we've got some chick days going on at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry, and happy to share that on YouTube with you. I wanted to join you here on our YouTube channel and talk about getting ready for chicks. This is a group of 100 in a little brooder that we've built in our barn, and then this is another brooder space. We're going to have 125 more coming in there. And so here's these Cornish rock cross meat bird chickens as chicks that are a day old, and let me show you in about 4 weeks this is what they're going to look like. So this is a 4-week-old Cornish rock cross hen right there. Got a group here. So actually this whole pen that I'm looking at, there's a bigger area than what we're seeing on the camera, but we've got about 87 Cornish rock cross birds here. So these birds, we take them to a processor at 6 weeks old. So they'll be going to the processor in a couple weeks from this filming to be made into poultry products. But yes, they start like this, but it's not going to take any time at all for them to grow out of this. So that's what I want to talk to you about today, is getting not only the brooder or the space ready for chicks, but the big picture of getting yourself ready for chicks. So 3 things. The bottom line of all 3 things is just prepare, prepare, prepare. But the 3 big tips I want to give you for getting ready for chicks is to know your purpose, have a plan, and do the prep work. So just want to briefly talk about those 3 things and how you can apply that to your situation. So as far as purpose, know what your purpose is before you ever go get your hands on chickens, before you ever even order them, because your purpose impacts a lot of decisions. It impacts what kind of breed of chickens you'll get. It impacts how many chickens you're going to get. It impacts the size of the space you're going to prepare for them. And it impacts the permanency of the space you're going to prepare for them. Because if you want, egg layers for household supply use, you can build a temporary brooder, something that you don't have to invest a lot in, and you're only going to use it maybe a month, and then those birds are going to be ready to transition to something else. If you're going to go on a little larger scale, you might want to invest more in a more permanent brooder situation that you're going to rotate birds in and out of. And then you want to be thinking down the line, what are those birds going to need as adults? So know your purpose. Based on your purpose, formulate your plan. And that is really critical with raising meat birds. So if your purpose in raising birds is to produce meat, and you choose to buy especially Cornish rock cross meat birds, please know going into that either at like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks, probably at the maximum of 12 weeks, those birds have got to be processed. So if you're going to do your own processing, then that's a lot easier because in the way of planning, because you can just process the birds when they're ready to harvest. But if you know going into it that you want to choose to rely on working with a professional processor like a processing house, then you need to line that date up before you ever get your birds, because chicken processors, especially United States Department of Agriculture inspected chicken processors, tend to book out like a calendar year at a time. So get a hold of a chicken processor if you want to use a processor, find out what they have available, get that date, decide how many weeks you want to grow your birds out, and count back from your processing date to determine when your hatch date should be for your birds. And that's when you want to get your birds. And you can work with a hatchery, or maybe a local feed mill can help you work with a hatchery to get your birds when you want them. So know your purpose, make a plan, and then do the prep work. And with the prep work, I do mean, have a brooder space ready for your birds when they're coming in. So going back to this situation, we had this whole area actually set up, both of these spaces, this space and this one. We had it actually set up for 225 birds. And what happened was our shipment of birds apparently got separated into shipping. So we got one box right now, and then another box is yet to come in a couple hours. So we decided, okay, well, we're going to take the brooder we had made up and we're going to improvise and split that down so we can observe the 2 groups that ended up shipping under different circumstances in case there's any difference in their development or they have any complications. So a lot of times you're gonna have to improvise, but we had the brooder set up, all the lights in place, all the waters down on the floor, the bedding down, and the feed ready to go. So that's important. And so then, like I said, there's another group coming in. Its brooder is ready. When those birds get here, we can dip their beaks into the water, make sure they know where to find it, and then set them right in the brooder and they're ready to go. And the other thing that I would add with that, when you're going to get birds, is in addition to having your brooder set up, part of the prep work is have the things you need on hand. Like, don't get the birds home and then go, oh no, we need feed. So have the feed already ready to go. In general, feeding chicks, like a 22% chick starter is what you're going to want. And another part of that, another tip on if you've got the meat birds, I would suggest trying to have all of your inputs for the entire grow out. So like, we know that we grow birds on a 6-week rotation. So my reference point is I need 20 bags of feed for every 100 birds. So I know that like when I raise 200 birds, I'm going to want 40 bags of feed. So I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. So we bought a pallet of feed for the chicks that we're getting now, and we bought a pallet of shavings. So we've taken some of those shavings to improvise some brooder walls, but you know, we have all those inputs here ready to go so that we know our birds are going to be taken care of from start to finish with no problem. And also with the prep work, be prepared for the fact that these little guys and gals grow quickly. So while you may start in a small brooder situation like this, remember that within a week or two, you're going to need to give them more room or make some kind of adjustment. And so like what will happen with our birds is these older birds will have gone to the processor. These younger birds, we'll actually just set them over the small wall and they'll have a bigger space here. So, because with the meat birds, they're not going to fly up over this wall. Now with egg layers, you need to account for that. So thank you for joining us at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Please subscribe. And if you're getting chicks, know your purpose, have a plan, and do your prep work.